Money has never meant anything to me. Money doesn't rule the world.
Most people think winning the lottery is the best thing that could ever happen to them. Overnight, you have millions, which means no more bills, no more money problems, and the chance to finally live the life you always wanted. But the truth is not so simple, because for many winners, the jackpot doesn't solve their problems at all. It creates new ones. Research shows that nearly 70% of lottery winners end up broke within just a few years. And the damage doesn't stop there. The money often tears families apart, ruins friendships, and in the worst cases, it even costs people their peace of mind or their lives. What was supposed to be a dream come true has for many turned into the start of a nightmare. This is the dark reality of striking it rich, where the ticket that's supposed to change your life can just as easily destroy it. Jack Whittaker was already a wealthy construction contractor when he bought that Powerball ticket on Christmas morning 2002. He didn't need the money, which is exactly what made his story so disturbing. When those numbers came up, Whittaker had just won $314 million. The largest lottery jackpot in history at the time. Unlike other winners, this wasn't a rags-to-riches story. This was something far more sinister. Whittaker did something that seemed noble at first. He started giving his money away. Stacks of cash to churches, handfuls of hundreds to waitresses, thousands to strangers on the street. He even famously left tips at strip clubs that were bigger than most people's annual salaries. The media loved him. He was the generous cowboy with the big hat and bigger heart. But generosity without boundaries isn't generosity. It's blood in the water. Within months, Whittaker's life became a circus of exploitation. People broke into his car and stole $500,000 in cash. Twice. Lawsuits started flying from every direction. His family was harassed constantly. Strangers would follow him, begging for money. But the real horror was just beginning. His beloved granddaughter, who had been living a normal life before the win, suddenly had access to unlimited money. The drugs came next. His granddaughter became addicted to cocaine and was found dead from an overdose at just 22 years old. His daughter, devastated by her child's death, started drinking heavily and died from cancer soon after. His wife, unable to handle the chaos and tragedy, left him. Within 5 years, the man who had won everything had lost everyone who mattered. Whittaker himself admitted he was cursed by the lottery. In 2020, at age 72, he died alone. His fortune gone, his family destroyed. The generous cowboy who wanted to help everyone ended up destroying the people he loved most. But if you think Jack Whittaker's story is tragic, what happened to our next winner will make your blood run cold. Because while Whittaker lost his family to addiction and despair, Abraham Shakespeare lost something even more precious. He lost his life.
Tonight, the end of a story we've been covering for months, killing Abraham Shakespeare to get and keep his lottery winnings.
Abraham Shakespeare couldn't read or write very well, but he knew enough to recognize his numbers when they came up in 2006. The 47-year-old casual laborer from Florida had just won $30 million in the lottery. After taxes and taking the lump sum, he walked away with $17 million. Unlike many winners, Shakespeare was incredibly generous and humble. He bought a modest house, a Nissan Altima, and gave away money to anyone who asked. Friends and family members knew they could count on Abraham for help, and he never said no. But Abraham's kindness made him a target. In 2008, a woman named Dee Dee Moore approached him. She claimed to be a financial advisor who could help him manage his remaining money and protect him from people trying to take advantage of him. The irony was breathtaking. Moore convinced Abraham to let her handle his finances, claiming she wanted to help him disappear from the public eye and live a quiet life. What Abraham didn't know was that Moore was systematically stealing from him. She forged his name on legal documents, transferred his assets to herself, and convinced him to sign over power of attorney. When Abraham started asking questions about where his money was going, Moore realized she had a problem. Abraham Shakespeare was the only person who could expose her massive theft, so she killed him. In April 2009, Moore shot Abraham Shakespeare twice in the chest and buried his body under a concrete slab in a backyard. For months, she told people that Abraham had fled the country to avoid people asking for money. She even sent fake text messages from his phone to his family. When police finally found his body 8 months later, the truth was horrifying. Moore had stolen nearly all of his remaining fortune and murdered the man who had trusted her to protect him. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The judge called her cold, calculating, and cruel. Abraham Shakespeare's brother said that Abraham always regretted winning the lottery. He would have been better off broke, because at least he would still be alive. But here's what makes the lottery curse even more terrifying. It doesn't just target adults who might have some life experience to protect them. It goes after the most vulnerable victims of all: children who suddenly have millions of dollars and no idea how dangerous their new world has become. Callie Rogers was just 16 years old when she won the British lottery in 2003. At an age when most teenagers are worried about homework and dating, Callie suddenly had $2.3 million at her disposal. She was the youngest person ever to win such a large jackpot, and the media treated her like a fairy tale princess. Here was a working-class girl from Northern England who would never have to worry about money again. She promised publicly that she would be sensible with her winnings and invest wisely for her future. But what happened next was a masterclass in how sudden wealth can destroy a young person's life. Within months, Callie was throwing lavish parties that lasted for days. She was buying designer clothes, expensive cars, and taking exotic vacations. The real problem started when she discovered cocaine. Over the next few years, Callie spent over $300,000 on drugs alone. She also spent a fortune on plastic surgery, trying to perfect her appearance now that she could afford any procedure she wanted. The psychological pressure was enormous. Old friends expected her to pay for everything when they went out. New friends seemed only interested in what she could buy for them. Her family members constantly asked for loans that she knew would never be repaid. She couldn't trust anyone's motives anymore. Was this person being nice to her because they liked her, or because they wanted her money? By 2013, just 10 years after her win, Callie had only $2,500 left in her bank account. The millions were completely gone. But the money wasn't even the worst loss. The drugs, the pressure, the constant exploitation by people around her had destroyed her mental health. She attempted suicide multiple times, unable to cope with how her dream had turned into a nightmare. Today, Callie lives a normal working-class life again, taking the bus to her part-time job and living in a rented house. She's publicly stated that winning the lottery was the worst thing that ever happened to her. She was happier when she was broke, because at least then she knew who her real friends were. Now you might be thinking these are just isolated tragic cases, random bad luck that could happen to anyone. But that's where you'd be dead wrong. Because when researchers studied hundreds of lottery winners, they discovered something that will shake you to your core. There's an actual pattern to this destruction, a systematic formula that predicts exactly how these winners will be destroyed. After investigating hundreds of lottery winner stories, a disturbing pattern emerges. It's not just bad luck or coincidence. There are specific psychological and social forces that systematically destroy lottery winners, and they strike with terrifying predictability. First, there's what psychologists call sudden wealth syndrome. When someone goes from financial struggle to unlimited resources overnight, their brain can't process the change. They experience anxiety, guilt, paranoia, and social isolation. Many winners report feeling like they don't deserve the money, leading to self-destructive behavior. Second, lottery winners become instant targets. They're bombarded with requests for money from family, friends, and complete strangers. Professional scammers study lottery winners and design elaborate schemes to separate them from their fortunes. In the worst cases, like Abraham Shakespeare, they become literal targets for criminals who see them as easy prey. Third, most winners have no experience managing large sums of money. They make devastating financial mistakes, like taking the lump sum instead of annuity payments, failing to set aside money for taxes, or investing in get-rich-quick schemes that promise even more wealth. But here's the most disturbing part. The lottery system itself is designed to create these failures. Lotteries make more money when winners spend quickly and don't invest wisely, because that encourages more people to play. The statistics are shocking. Beyond the 70% who go broke, lottery winners have higher rates of suicide, divorce, and substance abuse than the general population. They're more likely to be murdered, more likely to be sued, and more likely to destroy their relationships with family and friends. The very thing that's supposed to solve all their problems becomes the source of their greatest suffering. But we've only scratched the surface of how dark this gets, because the stories I've shared so far, they're not even the worst ones. What I'm about to reveal will haunt you, because some lottery winners don't just lose their money or their families. They lose their lives in the most brutal ways imaginable. Some lottery stories don't end in bankruptcy or broken families. They end in morgues. The connection between lottery winnings and violent death is so strong that some security experts now advise winners to immediately hire bodyguards and relocate to protect themselves. In 2005, Jeffrey Dampier Jr. won $20 million in Illinois and moved to Florida to start fresh. He invested wisely in a popcorn business and was generous with his family, paying for apartments, cars, and vacations. But his generosity became his death sentence. His sister-in-law, Victoria Jackson, and her boyfriend decided they wanted all of his money immediately. Victoria called Jeffrey and asked him to come help her with car trouble. When he arrived, they tied him up, robbed him, then drove him to an alley and shot him in the back of the head execution style. Uraj Khan won $1 million in Chicago in 2012, but died of cyanide poisoning before he could even collect his winnings. His death was initially ruled natural causes, but his family insisted on further investigation. The autopsy revealed he had been murdered, poisoned by someone close to him who knew about his lottery win. The case remains unsolved today. Gregory Birch Jr. won $435,000 in Georgia in November 2015. Just 2 months later, armed robbers broke into his home demanding his lottery money. When he couldn't produce the cash they expected, they shot him multiple times and left him to die. He was just 20 years old. The pattern is clear and horrifying. Lottery winners don't just attract financial scammers, they attract killers. Their winnings make them high-value targets for people who see murder as an acceptable business strategy. The very publicity that comes with winning the lottery creates a target on their backs that can never be removed. In these cases, the lottery ticket didn't just change their lives, it ended them. Here's the truth most people never hear about winning the lottery. It isn't a blessing, it's more like a test of human greed and weakness. The system sells hope to desperate people, but what it really delivers is heartbreak. Jack Whitaker, one of the biggest winners of all time, once admitted he wished he had never won. He said if he could go back, he would tear up that ticket. Abraham Shakespeare's family believes the same. He would still be alive today if he had never claimed his prize. The lottery doesn't create fairy tale millionaires who live happily ever after. It creates targets, victims, and stories that serve as warnings. In the end, the house always wins, even when you think you've beaten it. The real jackpot isn't the money at all, it's keeping your life, your family, and your peace intact. If you found these stories shocking, wait until you see how billionaires plan for the end of the world. Click the video on your screen to discover the wild survival strategies the ultra-rich are betting their lives on.